Okay, so I didn't think I would have to make a video about this, but clearly there are some people, even on YouTube, that don't seem to understand what this means. And clearly, from the reaction from a lot of people, it seems like fail to understand how players are right here. They're right to ask for more compensation. And it's clear to me it's based on an antiquated narrative that I've seen for years where, WNBA loses money every year. Why should they earn more if the company loses more money? And I mean, it's pretty easy to look up articles from back then, 1976, where it says here top NBA stars were subsidized. Back in the 60s, believe it or not, a lot of the star players were being paid by every NBA team in part. And you can find numerous articles from even recently talking about how in the 70s the NBA was actually struggling financially and how the image that the NBA had was, very tarnished. This also, by the way, being during the NBA's third full decade in operation, which is exactly where the WNBA is now in its third decade in operation. Oh, and guess what? The players are actually getting substantially underpaid when you really compare it to other leagues. In this article here, it does outline how under the current CBA, the WNBA players only split 9.3% of the total league revenues, whilst in the NBA, it's anywhere between 49 to 51% of basketball-related income. In the NFL, it's 48% of all revenue given out to players, and in the NHL, it's 50%. Oh, and this whole narrative of the WNBA teams losing money, apparently, as recently as 8 years ago, there was a report that showed that nearly half of the NBA teams lost money during that season. And it's all the familiar faces of the small market teams that were at a loss reportedly during the 2017 season. And this graph does outline the net income after revenue sharing splits. Where you see teams like the Lakers and Warriors profiting big, but then the Nets and the Pistons losing out on money. Yes, a team in New York actively losing money in the 17th season. And a lot of that is due to the increase of revenue over the years due to the new TV deal that was signed recently at that time. And because of all that influx of money coming in, people projected the NBA to be making much more than they actually were making at that time. And also because of other CBA restrictions, basically obligating the NBA teams to have salaries totaling 90% of the salary cap be given to players during any season. It obviously created situations where, with the local media rights given out to certain teams as well, you see other teams making way more than, teams like the Grizzlies in Memphis, where their local media rights were going to generate a substantial amount compared to the Lakers or the Knicks. Well, what does that mean for WNBA, who is, apparently losing money every year, right? Thanks to this Guardian article, it outlines a lot of the misconceptions and a lot of the history of WNBA, where the league broadcast rights in 2002 was $0. And then now in the current CBA deal, the broadcasting rights is roughly $60 million a year. And in the next CBA that's coming up next year, WNBA revenue was set to surge $200 million a year with that new broadcasting rights deal. Obviously, part of the NBA's reported $76 billion agreement that was obviously agreed to recently as well. By the way, the current rights deal that was set to expire this year in 2025, it brought in about $50 million a year, like we outlined, 60 and 50. And now it'll go to $200 million, quadrupling that amount. And I'm not going to lie. People that said, the league is set to lose $40 million in 2024, right? And with the already increasing revenue over the recent years, with the WNBA becoming more popular around the country, it means that under the new rights deals, the league is projected to actually make profit overall in the next couple of years. And a team like the New York Liberty, who were recently sold in 2019 for around $10 to $15 million, well, now fast forward 6 years later, and the Liberty's valuation is calculated at around $450 million. Teams are becoming more valued around the league. And with the revenue increase from the rights deal and overall popularity of the league growing, it makes sense for the WNBA players now to basically make a statement during the All-Star weekend and ask, hey, man, give us what we are deserving of. And again, this 9.3% of league revenue being given to the players, that is substantially lower than a lot of the leagues like we outlined. And it only makes sense to ask for a substantial increase in the revenue percentages as, come on now, what makes the league as good as it is? It's the players. So it is up to the players now to push the envelope, make it hard for the owners association, for the governors of the WNBA to basically ignore their request, increase this revenue split from the players now from 9%, which is criminally low compared to a lot of the other leagues in the major sports leagues. Increase that to what, 30, 40%? They're not even asking to be paid the same amount as the players, right? They're not asking to get $40 million contracts. They're saying, can we at least get a bigger chunk of the pie? I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. And the league is getting more popular too. They are in a position now, the Players Association, where they can ask for much more compensation and it not actually getting in the way of the owners getting more money as well. But unfortunately, on YouTube, I've seen videos and I've seen tweets of people still not understanding that the WNBA is actually gonna make more and more money each year and it's getting more popular. And even investors outside the WNBA are seeing how much money teams are gonna make in the future, and they want in now. They want in now, so much so that I'm telling you, man, people, I think a lot of people are showing how little they know about business in general. I mean, a company that's losing money, are they going to all of a sudden stop paying their employees because they're losing money? No, they still are worthy of being paid. If they work there, they're still doing things. The company is obviously betting on itself, making money over the future, just like the WNBA is. Subsidized by the NBA, albeit, but guess what? That league is set to generate more and more money each year to where now the rice deal comes in. They make more profit. Boom. There's no other argument left. The players union, they can come in now and say, hey, basically they got the leverage. You don't give us what we deserve, we sit out. Lockout ensues. Guess what? These players, a lot of these players, they're getting creative. During the winter last year, there was an unrivaled league that was, partly funded by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. Albeit it started up last year, right? Recently, but it's a bet on themselves. They know what they're worth. And if the WNBA isn't willing to give them what they're worth, well, they're just going to start up their own leagues. They've already set the blueprint for it. What makes you think they're not going to go full throttle if they don't get what they deserve? They're going to get it somewhere. There's teams, there's owners, there's groups, investors that are willing to pay up. And so if the WNBA doesn't want to pay up, guess what? They're going to find somebody else to do so. And these players are savvy enough to start up their own leagues. Hey, man, the WNBA owners, board of governments, they have to comply. They have to. I think they're in the position where they need to comply with what the players union is saying and give them what they're worth. That's it. It's that simple. So expect more tweets to come out next year about how WNBA players are being overpaid from people that don't understand the business of the WNBA or even the NBA for that matter. I've seen so many people say a lot of these players are overpaid. They don't understand how the cap works. They don't understand how the valuation of these teams growing every year makes it so that a lot of the money that we're seeing now projected out 3 years, 5 years later, the cap percentage is going to be much smaller than it was then. They're always going to be ignorant. So, best I could do is just make a video about this on the second channel. Might make a bigger video if I see more nonsense online, but, that's about it, bro. Peace out.